If you are a guitarist trying to write your first song, and especially if you're somebody who is even new to the guitar and you're trying to write your first song, this is the video for you because we are talking about how to write your first song as a guitarist. Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer that I think is important is this is how I recommend you write your first song, which is wildly different than how I would recommend you eventually write your songs. This is a great way to write your first song, but this is going to become more and more kind of a not great way to write songs as you become a more seasoned songwriter. It should be something that when you're a beginner is great, is helpful, is a really quick, easy way to write a song that can still be great, but eventually writing songs in this way is going to be really limiting. So that being said, my recommended first step for your first song as a guitarist is to simply pick a stock chord progression. So what do I mean by a stock chord progression? Well, I mean one of the tried and true chord progressions that have been beaten to crap, have been used tons and tons of times.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Just find one of those and choose to use one. Also, I highly recommend you write your first song in G major. It's okay if you don't understand what G major means. In fact, for this video, I'm largely assuming that you don't know basic music theory like keys because theoretically, this is your first song as a guitarist. I don't expect you to know any music theory. That's okay. Basically, what I mean by this is pick one of these chord progressions, the 1-5-6-4, the 1-6-5-4, the 1-4-5-4, or the 2-5-1. Those are some of the most basic stock chord progressions, which in the context of G major would be respectively a G major, D major, E minor, C major chord progression, a G major, E minor, D major, C major chord progression, a G major, C major, D major, C major chord progression, and an A minor, D major, G major chord progression. So why do I recommend using a stock chord progression specifically in the key of G major? Well, it's because all the main chords of G major are some of the easiest chords to play on the guitar. Why I wouldn't say to use C major, for instance, is because some of the main chords of C major are C major, F major, G major, and A minor. And if you're a beginner guitarist or even a more seasoned guitarist, you know that an F major chord is kind of a pain in the butt to play. But in G major, your main chords are going to be G major, C major, D major, and A minor, and E minor. And those are all super easy to play. So again, step one, simply pick a stock chord progression, something like 1-5-6-4. If you want to make no choices here, I'll pick one for you. Let's go with the 1-6-5-4 chord progression in G major, which would be a G major, E minor, D major, C major chord progression. Step two is to simply improvise 2 to 3 different melodies with your voice. As a pro side tip here, something that will make this even easier is once you figured out your chord progression, just pull out your phone and use the free recorder app on your phone. Record yourself playing that chord progression for 2 to 5 minutes straight over and over and over again. And then when you're trying to figure out your melody, instead of you having to worry about playing the guitar while singing and improvising a melody until you find something you like, instead you can make it easier on your brain by not forcing yourself to play and sing at the same time, but instead just listen back to your recording on your phone of you playing that chord progression, and you can just concentrate on improvising melodies with your voice. So I said improvise 2 to 3 different melodies. Why is that? Well, for your first song, I just asked you to pick one chord progression because in this song, we're going to use one chord progression for the entire song. There are perfectly legitimate, even great songs out there that are what are often called 4-chord songs. 4-chord songs are really just songs that utilize one chord progression over and over and over again, and that chord progression has 4 chords. Again, back to the disclaimer, I don't recommend you do this long term. This is not a great way to write songs generally, but it is a great place to start. So for our first song, for both our verses and our choruses, as well as perhaps our bridge if we decide to have one, we are going to use the exact same chord progression because it makes it super easy. Now, the reason that we need to improvise 2 to 3 different melodies on top of that chord progression is your chorus and your verse can't have the same melody, and your bridge can't have the same melody as your verse and chorus. So you can improvise 2 different melodies that you like if you just want to have verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus as your song structure. But if you want your song to have a bridge and have a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus song structure, then you're going to need to improvise 3 different melodies. Now, certainly there are way more song structures than just those 2 very basic ones out there, but again, this is your first song. We're trying to keep it very simple. So now you've picked a stock chord progression. Maybe you followed my advice and just used the 1, 6, 5, 4 in the context of G major, which would give you a G major, E minor, D major, C major chord progression. And then you improvise melodies, probably with your voice, just singing and humming until you found something that just sounded right. And you've come up with at least 2 different melodies. And that leads us to step 3, which is just to write your lyrics. Now, this is something that I know I just said, just write your lyrics. And you may say, Joseph, that's maybe the hardest part. I haven't really done much poetry. And you know what? Frankly, that probably is going to be by far the hardest part of your first song, because picking a stock chord progression is very easy. Improvising just 2 melodies with your voice, if you're a decent singer, that also is fairly easy. But look, you're writing a song, so not every single element is going to be trivial. So this is going to be the least trivial of the 3 steps. But to make it easy, what you can do is just not worry about rhyming for your first song. Just make sure that when you're writing the words or when you're editing the words, it really feels like you can sing the melody with the words, and they really feel like they go together. Probably the easiest way to make sure that your lyrics really fit with your melody is to write down the emphases of your melody that are naturally occurring. So for example, if the melody's emphases are something like da 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 da, actually write that down and then try to fill that in with words that fit those emphases. So something like I have to ride my bike would fit with da 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 da. Now, I'm not saying I have to ride my bike is a great line. Of course it's not. But hopefully you get the basic idea. If you do want to dive a bit further and really try to write some better lyrics, something you can do is grab my 6-step lyric writing checklist. This will take you from a lyrical idea to lyrics you can be proud of, because honestly, lyric writing is something that can be very difficult and very frustrating. This is really the way that I've found that has helped me to break outside of that frustration and really have a sort of system. So be sure to check that out. Totally free, songwritertheory.com/lyric checklist. It will walk you through all 6 steps. And look, once you have your lyrics, that's it. Now you've completed your first song. This is about as easy as we possibly could make songwriting. Again, this is not a great way to write songs long term, but for your first song, this is a super simple way to go out there, write a song, and be like, wow, I actually made a song. And honestly, you can write a song this way and come up with something pretty awesome. There are plenty of great songs out there that do just use a stock chord progression. So go out there, pick a stock chord progression, improvise 2 to 3 different melodies, and then write your lyrics, fitting those lyrics to the natural emphases that you have in your melodic lines, and you will have your first song as a guitarist. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Again, if you want help with your lyrics, be sure to check out the free guide, link in the description down below. I will talk to you in the next one.